Month ago. I'd like to call this the public hearing of Monday, June 9th to order. We can please stand for the invitation. Please, Mr. Daniel, is listening patience.
Would you please bow your head and pray? Heavenly Father, thank you for this evening and this opportunity to gather to govern the city of Streetsboro. I pray that you give us wisdom and endurance tonight to do the jobs that are before us. Lord, just bless our time together and continue to protect our great city. It's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Caroline, can you please call roll?
Mr. Mishniak?
Here.
Mr. Hannon?
Here.
Mr. Lombardo?
Here.
Ms. Wagner? Mrs. McDaniel? Ms. Glenn?
Here.
Mr. Ring?
Here.
Motion to excuse Ms. Wagner.
Second.
A first and second to excuse Ms. Wagner. All in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none, she is excused. And item 4, T7777, adopt 2026 tax budget. Is there any discussion or comments? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
First, Steve, second, Tony to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we're adjourned. Got you covered, Lou.
Ken. I'll get you the cam.
Okay. All right, I'd like to call to order this safety committee meeting of Monday, June 9th, 2025. Number 2, invocation and pledge we have handled. Number 3, Caroline, please call roll.
Sure. Mr. Mishniak?
Here.
Mr. Hannon?
Here.
Mr. Lombardo?
Here.
Ms. Wagner? Mrs. McDaniel?
Present.
Ms. Glenn?
Here.
Mr. Ring?
Here. Motion to excuse Ms. Wagner.
Second.
First and second to excuse Ms. Wagner. All in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none, Ms. Wagner is excused. Number 4, disposition of minutes, regular safety committee meeting of May 12th, 2025.
Motion to adopt is written.
Second.
I have a first and a second to adopt the minutes as written. All in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none, they are adopted. Number 5, old business, we have none. Number 6, new business. T7778, amend ordinance number 2025-55, police cruiser purchase. Chief Wayne is not here.
Yes, this is to amend the ordinance. It's originally written that we're going to purchase from, I'm not familiar with them, Grieve dealership. In any case, we were going to purchase 3 Durangos from them. It turns out they only have 2 now. So we did find that Montrose Dodge has the 3 that we need, and it's actually a few $100 cheaper. So we'd like to amend it to make the purchase from Montrose.
Okay, any discussion?
There's no further discussion. I'll make a motion to move this to tonight's full council.
Second.
Okay, a first and a second to move T7778 to tonight's full council. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. We'll move on to item number 7, citizens' comments. No citizens' comments. Item number 8, announcements. A service committee meeting will immediately follow this meeting. Item number 9.
Motion
To adjourn.
To adjourn. First, a second, anyone?
Second.
First and a second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we are adjourned.
Another 2-minute meeting. Okay. Can you do it in 2 minutes?
No, I can't do it that fast. Are you ready?
Give me a second.
Okay.
Just put my heading here. Okay.
I'd like to call this Service Committee meeting of Monday, June 9th, 2025 to order. Caroline, can you please call roll?
Mr. Mishniak?
Here.
Mr. Hannon?
Here.
Mr. Lombardo?
Here.
Ms. Wagner? Mrs. McDaniel?
Present.
Ms. Glenn?
Here.
Mr. Ring?
Here.
Motion to excuse Ms. Wagner.
Second.
First and a second to excuse Ms. Wagner. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, Ms. Wagner is excused. Item 3, disposition of minutes, regular service committee meeting of May 12th, 2025.
Motion to accept.
Second.
First and a second to accept the minutes as written. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the minutes have been accepted. Item 4, old business. There is none. Item 5, new business. Item A, T7779, approve 3/4 of updates to the code.
So, this update would include the last 2 quarters of 2024. When I was absent, those updates didn't happen. So when I got back, I did those 2 quarters and the first quarter of 2025. So this is to officially approve them and make it part of our code and enforceable by our police department. And I've distributed the updated copies to everybody. So if anybody needs help updating their big thick code book, just bring me the book and I'll do it for you. I got it. I've done it already 8 times, so it goes pretty smooth.
There's no questions. I'll make a motion to move this to tonight's full council.
Second.
First and a second to move this to tonight's full council. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, this item has been moved to tonight's full council. Item B, liquor license request of Winking Lizard. Caroline.
This came to us in the mail for the new restaurant that's coming into town, and we just need to say if we want to request a hearing on the topic or not. Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Ring.
It's the Trex, right, Patrick?
It is my belief that they are Trexing a liquor license from a location that they closed in the Central Ohio market.
Any discussion?
I'll make a motion that we take no action on this.
Second.
We have a first and a second to take no action. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we will take no action. Item C, T7780, amend section 509.12 regarding splash pad rules. Mr. Knott.
Yes, the purpose of this legislation is to make the 50912 consistent with the posted rules, which allow, they require 12-year-olds to have parents with them. As it stands right now, it's 15, age 15. So it's being reduced to 12 to be consistent with the posted rules.
We did spend a while talking about this at the last meeting, and I thought we decided we wanted it to be 15, and I know the sign does not agree with that. So, I mean, I don't know. I think 12 in my mind is a little bit young to be up there by yourself. I don't know what anyone else thinks. Anybody else comment? Ms. McDaniel?
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I feel like we discussed this at length, especially considering the nature of a water play area, and I don't see any reason to reduce the age in our law to match the sign. The sign could maybe be adjusted to match what we had discussed.
I don't know. I mean,
Under 12.
I thought it was the ordinance that stated it had to be
Do
50.
you need to use your mic, please?
Sorry, still learning this. I can look at the ordinance real quick and see, but I believe it was the 15 and under.
correct. That is correct. That's what the ordinance says. But then the sign came in, and the sign says 12. So that's not matching up. So that's the issue. So we either have to change the sign or we change the ordinance. It really should match. It should match. Mr. Hannon.
Thank you. I thought it's really.
Oh, no, if it's just the one item, we could just put something over top of it.
I thought from that phone call we had about the splash pad that we talked about just leaving it how it was with 12 and 15 and having.
Yeah, that was another option that was brought up. We did talk about that, whether it
I forget
really.
exactly. I think maybe you said it was just leave it at 15 in the ordinance. I forget the exact reason, but
Yeah, the problem with that is if someone's 13 or 14 and they're there by themselves, causing a ruckus, and we try to enforce it, they're gonna say, the sign says 12. Well, you know, so they should match. I agree we shouldn't change our ordinance if we feel that 15 is the appropriate age, under 15 is the appropriate age, and we just put a sticker, get a sticker from Home Depot with 15 on it, put it over, over top, so, yeah.
Mr. Lombardo.
Yeah, I agree with Mr. Ring. I think that we just need to edit the sign to reflect. I think 15 is a good age. I don't know what you think, Mr. Mayor, on that.
13 or 14-year-olds can babysit and be left home alone. Under 12, I think is something that does need parental supervision. So, I mean, if we want to change the sign, I mean, it would be kind of, we have 12 on the sign, and we want to make it consistent with the ordinance, which is 15.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm more concerned with kids under 12 than I am with kids that are 13 or 14 years old.
Yeah, I think of it the other way, though. I remember being 13 or 14, and when a group of me and my friends got together without any parental supervision, it was always...
Well, we know that.
Yeah. So I worry more about the 13 and 14-year-olds being there without supervision than I do a 10-year-old.
When I checked some of the other splash pads, they said all children must be occupied by an adult. So that's what some of the other...
Yeah, I did look at that too. I looked up some of the local ones, and it just says children must be supervised. It does not specify an age. And Mr. Lombardo went up to Aurora today to check to make sure that that's what it said, and that is what it says. It just says children.
Well, I have children that are 41 and 42. Okay, they're my children. So I think that argument, I would rather
put it out there that no one else is really putting numerical age there. I'm not saying that we should do that. I'm just saying that I did look to see, is this something that, what are other cities doing? Is it 12? Is it 15? What are they doing? And from what I was saying, they're not specifying a numerical age, which I think we should. Mr. Knott, where did we come up with the age 15 to start with? Because you did send that over to us. Do you remember?
I think at the time Paul and I talked about it, and that was the age that we thought would be correct.
Okay, I didn't know if there was any, did you look into that? Maybe, I couldn't find anything local. This is a real quick check that I did, though. I didn't spend a bunch of time looking, but
no, we
just rule of thumb that you kind of thought was 15 would be good.
Well, if council desires, we'll just change the sign to correspond with the ordinance. I mean, that's easy enough. Okay?
I think that's good.
Yeah,
do I have to do something now with this?
No.
We're done?
Yep.
Okay, no action on item C. Item D, T7781, authorized natural gas agreement. Mr. Deininger, did you want to step up to the podium then, and if we have any questions for you?
Certainly. Good evening. Art Deininger, Buckeye Energy Brokers. I wanted to stop by in replacement of Tom Bellish, who could not be here this evening. I've been with Buckeye Energy for 15 years. I'm 20 years in the business, and Mr. Bellish is another 10 on me. So I just wanted to stop by and see if I could answer some questions on this and maybe get some clarity for you.
Okay. Mr. Ring.
Thank you. Yeah, so I think the legislation that we have is it's got a not to exceed 475 because the emails that were going back and forth between Ms. Prokop and Tom, he kept coming in at, it's at 530, 540, but he was using just January's index. And I don't think is that the right way to look at it? Because why every other month I'm looking at Henry Hub now. Today, all the settlements were, 378 for July, 386 for August, 384, 393 for October, 434. They're all much lower than 5. He was quoting us 520 or something, Tom was. So I don't think January is always the most expensive month in the quotes. I noticed that years ago. So why would we base that's only 1 month. Why would we want to lock in a rate that high, the highest rate of the year for 12 months when it's only 1 month that it's that high? It doesn't seem how a quote should work. So can you explain to me why it's quoted that high?
So that reference piece that you have there, does it show January on there? Or does it not go that high? The futures contracts that you were mentioning, the months?
Yeah. So January right now settled today at 5099.
Okay. So yeah, when we look at January, we use that as a point of reference that's the highest it's going to be. So when a supplier takes a look at your program, many times I get people that'll tell me, well, this is a great price, but I can go to the apples to apples and do less. So compared to what we're doing, that's apples to oranges, because if we're looking at an October start, folks are looking at pricing that's today and on the PUCO Apples to Apples website, and that can change daily, that pricing.
Yep.
So when a supplier provides you with pricing that begins in October, that's where they take the pricing from, and they encompass all those future contracts for however long it is, 12 or 24 months. They take a look at that to determine their price. Now, every supplier determines it differently. And Mr. Bellish is at, would be a ceiling of 475. It doesn't mean it can't be less. And what this does is this gives us an opportunity to execute when the market drops. Now lately, it's been really volatile, and it's been far higher than it's been lower. So if we get maybe one day where the market drops, where we can lock this in with it, that gives us an opportunity opposed to all the days the months that are higher, and it makes it very difficult. So this type of legislation allows us to execute when it's
that I understand. Why are we saying the price? Tom sent over on Monday. Well, I guess it was last Monday, not this Monday. That the price was 510 was the price for if we were to book. Like, it's to send over a price update on Monday of 510, stating that that's where the price was right now. Why are we quoting a strike price of 510 just based off of January's number when you have to factor in that every other month's going to be lower? I just don't understand the quoting part of it, where if we're going to quote a strike price, a 475, that means most months it's got to be over, in order for it to average out over 12 months, you got to have some over 475 and some under for it to be worth it for us to do that. If we're getting a strike price of 510 and January is the only month that's 510 and all the other months are 430, 420, 390, we're losing. Our citizens are losing out. Why is the strike price so high is my question. Not why. I understand why we have the legislation and we set a limit on the strike price. So if it drops below that or it gets a good price there, but to me it seems like the prices we're being given are the highest price possible for 1 month out of that 12 or 24 month period that we're looking to lock the price in for, and that just doesn't seem right. I need to understand where that strike price comes from and why it's calculated so high, and not an average or some kind of, like I said, October right now is at 470 or 460 or something like that for the October futures. Why wouldn't that be the strike price or the starting price? Why would it be January's?
So if he starts with January at that point, and then we know from other pricing that we've done in that utility in Enbridge, so we have a little bit of idea where it may come in at, or a range where it may come in at. So if he thinks worst case scenario is 475, he can always do better than that. So the winter heating season is October through March. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to fix your pricing, for some people, not everybody, but for people who like to fix it, that's a really good time to do so. Now, you can't stay on the SCO and ride that variable up and down. It ebbs and flows, and some people do that. But we find with that aggregation, a lot of people like to just lock that fixed price in. They don't need to stay in it after the winter if they don't want to. But with natural gas, the usage is a lot less as well. So if your price is, let's say it's $5, and you want to at least lock that in with the local aggregation for so many months to get you through the winter, you can't always opt out of it at no cost and go back to the SCO. But this way, you're locked in over the winter when it can, and we've seen it the past months where it can just spike, and people can take a heavy hit in 1 month. I've taken plenty of calls, for people that are hurting on other programs.
But why lock in at a price that's estimated more than what the settlements are for every other month but one? I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around why would we lock in at a price that's going to be higher than what they're estimating or quoting for the entire rest of the winter aside from 1 month.
Well, we don't truly know what to lock in at. He's just giving you a number that's a worst case scenario of 475. The goal is to be lower. It always is. But, when he's in front of you as an ordinance like that, he needs to be realistic on where things are at. Sure, we'd like to be at 375, to be honest with you.
So if I see October right now is at 436, and we're hoping it's going to go down a little bit, why can't we say, well, then let's just say 440 is our top end, and,
Well, we don't set the pricing, so it depends where the supplier's at with it. But you're saying to lower the threshold on it, or the ceiling, because we're at 475, which is the ceiling on this.
I just don't want to put too high of a ceiling on it and then actually lock at that high ceiling and then get screwed. Just the prices drop, or that was a 2-day event where we and it could go the other way. I understand it could go the other way too. I
absolutely understand. Yeah, we have always. Oh, Mayor, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh.
Why can't, if we've got it 470, why don't we put a strike price in the ordinance of 450 or 440? Instead of, what is the ordinance?
Well, right. That's why we left this on the agenda, so we could discuss what we want to put the price at.
If Justin, if you're looking at the futures and the futures are saying it's going lower, then we can put it into the ordinance that the strike price is if it goes under 450 or under 440, correct?
Yeah, I mean, if we have it at 475, that's just the top end, like you're saying. So if he comes back and says, hey, today it's 440, and we can lock it in, but my problem is that if we pass the ordinance with just a ceiling, I know it gives flexibility, but then if it gets down to 475, he can just go, all right, we're locking you in at 475.
And that's why I said, if we want, we can reduce that number to 440 or 450 instead of the 475, because the thought process is, well, if we get it to 475, we're going to strike, we're going to hit, we're going to sign.
Right.
And if through your research is saying that, well, it's going to go lower than that, why don't we put a lower threshold for him to strike instead of keeping it at 475? Because if we authorize this ordinance, when it goes to 475, you guys have said, hey, it's okay to strike.
Right.
And no, I agree with you. I think that perhaps we should put the threshold lower. So, I mean, I don't know what the SCO is right now.
It's 367 for the next 2 days, and then it resets again. So
it was 445.
It's 445 the previous month. It's 367 right now for 2 more days. When I first got involved, I mean, Tom's has basically been conversing with Missy, and when I first heard about this, then this is when he said 430 was he thought it would be a good strike price, which I was fine with 430. And then next thing that comes over is 475, which seemed high to me. I will read the first sentence here. This is from Missy, and again, you probably don't have a copy of this. I'm going to read what he said here, or what she said, what he said. Tom sent over a price update on Monday, that would be last Monday, of 510, and stated pricing should continue to drop over the summer. So he's expecting it's going to drop over the summer.
But that's 510 for January again.
No, and I see and I get what Mr. Ring is saying. He's like, how are we averaging, and we're averaging at and it's the highest number. I don't quite understand that either, and I know you're trying your best to explain it to us, but I'm not following.
So the market continues to move. So, I mean, it's no different than watching the stock market for, any type of stock that you would have. It is extremely volatile, natural gas. So the benefit with this is, yes, worst case scenario, we're at 475. Everybody would like it lower. I've never been to a community where they didn't want it lower, but we have to be realistic with things, and we would like to be lower.
Looking at 510 to me, like you said, it's like the stock market. If I'm going to buy a future in the stock market and I'm going to buy an October future, I'm not going to pay January's price for that October future. I'm going to pay October's future price. So if we're going to, why aren't we going to look at October as where our price should be around?
So I'm not the supplier, and I don't set those prices on that, and I don't know, how they do that, because every single supplier is differently. So if we see 475 here and we hope to be lower, I can't give you a supplier's price today because I didn't do it before it came. So right. It's very different, but I can tell you 9 times out of 10 it goes up than it ever pops down. And when it does go down in that rarity, we need to be able to take advantage of it. That's.
Yeah, I have no problem passing legislation tonight on it. I just want to make sure we're the right price.
I think 475 is too high, and I think you guys ought to drop it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a problem passing the legislation to give us that opportunity.
You just take the 475s.
I just don't like the 475. I think it's too aggressive. So
we also have a little bit of time here too. We do have until we have to lock the price by the end of July. What is it? We need 55 days. Is that right? From when you go backwards from October 1st.
So if Tom plans an October start for you folks, the mailing goes out 2 months previous. So if we're August on a mailing, we need to have a price set, obviously, beforehand.
Right. So we can bring this if we make it lower and we can't get that price, we can come back and raise it if we have to. Yes, Mayor.
Yeah, if we don't have to lock in till the end of July, before Tom locks, he always gives us a call. And if we're watching these trends through June and July, and we started trending downward, okay, and and it continues to drop, even though we have a strike price of that, do we take the chance and say, hey, as long as we lock this in before July, whatever, we may be able to lock that down. But I would definitely cap it lower than 475.
Let me ask you a question, if you don't mind. If we, let's say we say 440, right? And Tom comes to us and says in a week and says, hey, it's at 425. Right, let's just say, hey, I think this is going to be a great price. And we strike that, and we say, go ahead, create the contract. Then before we sign the contract, it goes down to 385. Can we pull back on that contract? And no, we're stuck, right?
Well, the supplier, once you lock in with the supplier, you cannot pull back, renege, if you will, on it, because it dropped the next day. Once they lock that in with the traders, then that's your price. And it's, as we're seeing it, it's been 12 months only on the terms. It's rare to get a really good one for 24 months. And in all fairness, you probably do want to go as long as possible if it's advantageous to the residents, because you may not want to be looking at this every 12 months. But the market dictates, that we need to do this every 12 months, you know.
Well, I would ask the council to lower the threshold down to like 440 or 430, and we can watch. And if we start to see over the next few days, or actually the next almost month and a half, we can watch that price start to go. We would. The worst case scenario was if we got down to 440 and would lock. Okay. Yeah. But the best case scenario is before Tom would lock or before Tom would strike, he would call us and tell us, and we would be able to at least have the conversation that, hey, we've noticed that this stuff is dropping almost every day. Let's play our cards and see if we can wait a couple more days and see what we can get down to, because I've noticed when other communities worked with Tom and them, that they had a couple cents lower than us, and it was just depending on the strike date. So I would ask the council reduce the threshold from 475 to 430 or 440, and then with the understanding that, you know, Tom is going to call us. I mean, or send us an email that, hey, this is the price today. You know, the futures are going up, and that way, when we do strike, it's covered by the ordinance, and we can go ahead and get that price in. Because Missy's pretty diligent about watching that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, looking where October is now, where November is, where December is, you know, they obviously get up higher at that point. Even August is at 436. I would say
so
440 probably would be.
So the closer we get to winter, the more volatile things are going to get.
Yeah.
They're going to start to rise. Yeah. So we're not that far out, you know, in the energy market from winter.
But we have a few weeks, and I think 440 is a good hit.
Mr. Hannon.
Thank you. I was just going to say, I mean, I would be a little, I know obviously our goal is to strike at the lowest price. But what happens if we set it at 440 and we see a trend that's going up, and, you know, we get the 441, but we can't strike? I think that's why Tom said 475, because if everybody's keeping an eye on it, then it gives us.
Right.
It's very accurate.
I was going to
say. It's very accurate.
Right, because if the price is between 440 and 475, we can't strike, and then what if it keeps climbing? Is that what you're saying?
I'm reading his emails that I think that's why he said it's more realistic to say 475. Of course, we would like to try, he said, of course, we would try to get the best rate, even though it's at 475, if it's at 441.
As long as he calls us, and I just don't want him locking it in at 475.
Yeah, I don't.
So if he calls us and says, hey, it's at, you know, we want it, realistically, we could leave it at 475, but as long as he calls us and says, hey, it's at, you know, we know we want 440, it's at 442, but the trends, they're going, you know, it's going up, it's not going to get below 440. Should I lock it at 442? Then you could just, Mayor, you could say, yes, do that. You know, you and Missy know, Missy's on top of the prices too. She watches it every day as I do. So that maybe that is a good idea. Leave it at 475. But as long as it doesn't auto strike, you know what I mean? Or he doesn't auto strike it. So, yeah.
We just have to get back together.
I agree.
And that's what happened last time with the electric. We didn't set the price quite high enough. We had to come back. So
I like the 475. Just to give you that opportunity, that's your ceiling. We don't know what the floor is.
Yeah.
And we want to take advantage of that if the opportunity shows itself, and then Tom makes the quick call to get the okay, and then we can lock it in immediately.
That's fair.
Okay, any further discussion? Good.
There's no further discussion. I'll make a motion to move this to tonight's full council.
Second.
The first and a second to move this to tonight's full council. All in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none, this item has been moved. Let's see.
Thank you for being here.
Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
For your time. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Item E, T7782, accept energy rebate check from Dynegy.
We received a check for $23,000 from Dynegy. It is a green usage grant. And I need council to take 23 grand.
What are we gonna use it green for?
Well, we did green stuff.
Okay.
Jeez. So we don't need to spend it on anything in particular?
No,
We've already spent it, we're just gonna put it,
Yeah.
okay,
It was a rebate grant check.
okay. Any discussion?
There's no further discussion. I'll make a motion to move this to tonight's full council.
Second?
First and a second to move this to tonight's full council. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, this item has been moved. Item F, E7783, participate with ODOT to resurface State Route 14 and State Route 43.
This is just a standard participatory legislation to participate in that program.
Mr. Ring.
Thank you, Ms. Glenn. Okay, so I read through the legislation and I was flabbergasted and dumbfounded to read the section, how we shall assume and bear 100% of the costs, less 20%. Typically, we bear 20% of the cost and not 80. So we can't afford 80% of this project, and I'll be certainly not passing it.
Well, this was the $2.3 million that we told you guys about before. Our contribution to this project, as stated to us, out of a $6.5 million project is $2.3 million.
That's not what this says. This says we're responsible for 100% less a 20% match of CMAQ and STPG funds and $200,000 in ODOT district allocation funds. So 20% plus $200,000 is being funded by someone else where we're funding 80%. So if it's $6.5 million,
that's funding 80%.
That's how the contract reads.
I was confused too when I read how this is written, section 2.
Do you have it there?
Yes.
Section, in the first whereas and section 2. City agrees to participate in the cost of the construction at 100%, less a 20% federal match or match to. Yeah, 80% of 6 point something millions.
5.2, 6.5. Mm-hmm. When do we have to have this approved by? There are certain deadlines.
Well, what did the,
Yeah, Justin's cover letter says this follows standard documentation process for ODOT projects, which thank you.
Yeah, it can't be right. I mean,
what it has left out is what ODOT's participation is, okay? Because ODOT is the main driving, is the CMAQ and STBG funds, those are federal funding.
Right.
And what it doesn't say in here is what percentage is going to be paid by ODOT.
200,000?
And that,
well, it says $200,000 in ODOT state district allocation funds applied to the project.
no,
That was extra, right? The 200,000 was extra on top of the,
correct.
Well, we need to get that in.
Well, yeah, and you know what, you guys,
we can, I mean, if we have to pass it at the next meeting, we can. I don't know how.
well, yeah, because it's gonna,
We just have to have it
this is
before
not,
July.
this is not complete.
Right.
Okay, this is not complete because I know, I mean, we had the thing from them that showed what they're going to pay for.
Yeah, it's broken down because there's different areas, different funding in different parts of the project where AMATS is kicking in, and there's different state funds and additional funds that we received. But yes, the total project is 6.692, but what we're slated to spend is 2.103.
Yeah.
And
Well, there's something missing in this.
Yeah, let's get that in the
Okay.
or in the legislation.
Yeah, there's something missing, and I just figured it was the regular stuff that we normally have, but we can, I'm pretty certain that we can come back on the 23rd.
Yeah.
With the right stuff, and, I do apologize because we know that it's 80% is what's covered by the state, which is the standard thing.
And that's fine.
And we pay, and this is our 20%.
And I knew that, but when I read it and I reread it, and I said, well, that's not written that way. It's written that we're responsible for it. And they're
no, that's fine. That's fine.
I'll make a motion to move this to next finance meeting.
All right, let me make a.
First and a second to move this item to the next Finance Committee meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, this item has been moved to the next Finance Committee meeting, which is the 23rd of June. Item G, T7784, authorize MOU with GLCAP to map storm sewers. Mayor, you speaking on this one too?
Yes, this is a memorandum of understanding with the Great Lakes Community Action Partner. They received a grant to complete the mapping of our storm sewer system, and it is, according to Justin, this is necessary to complete our asset management assessment and capital improvement plan. The work is being performed by GLCAP at no cost to the city.
And that's all I needed to hear.
No cost sounds good.
Yes. There's no further discussion. I'll make a motion to move this to tonight's full council.
Second.
First and a second to move this to tonight's full council. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, this item has been moved to tonight's full council. Item H, T7785, authorized change order with Wirtz Capri City Hall inspections.
And according to the memo that Justin sent, additional testing and inspections are required at the new City Hall. The increased amount requires council action as the total surpassed the border control limits. These testings and inspections are necessary to complete the project, and it should be in the ordinance, is it not? The additional stuff in there?
Yeah.
The ordinance in front of you?
Yeah.
Okay.
No discussion. I'll make a motion to move this to tonight's full council.
Second.
First and a second to move this to tonight's full council. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, this item has been moved to tonight's full council. Item I, P7786, authorize OPWC grant application to repay Ferguson and Elliman.
Yes, this is part of the ongoing saga of Ferguson and Elliman. We did go out to bid to Ferguson Elliman. The backstory on that is there's no base. And that's why you're throwing good money after bad if we just throw a coat of asphalt over it. The purpose of the chip and seal this year is to provide a base, and then we will go and apply to OPWC for 50% funding to put the new asphalt over the base that was created with the chip and seal. And we're asking to the ability to put that on an OPWC application.
There's no further discussion. I'll make a motion to move that to tonight's full council.
Second.
First and a second to move this item to tonight's full council. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, this item has been moved to tonight's full council. Item J, T7787, go to bid for reconstruction of Miracle Lane.
Okay. We want to go to bid for Miracle Lane. We had originally earmarked funding for the 303 and Diagonal project, okay, which was going to straighten it out, remove the slip lane, put it in. And when we started looking at it, our cost on that project was going to be $800,000, and we had put that money aside. And when we started thinking about it, we felt that there were probably other areas that we could go to seek additional funding, because I thought $800,000 on us was a lot of money, and it is a lot of money. So we approached ODOT and asked us if we can push that project back so that we can go for additional funding. And they said, yeah, we can move it back to 2029. So we had been putting the money aside for that project, and we want to go and do the Miracle Lane project out of the funding that we had appropriated for the 303 and Diagonal project. And it's going to be about, the engineer's estimate was what, around $500,000 on that?
About 526.
520, so it's going to be considerably less than what the other project would have cost us. And
We didn't budget that this year,
budget what?
the 303 diagonal.
Yeah, we did.
I thought we were budgeted that for next year.
No.
Or we were gonna budget it for, we budgeted $800,000?
We had to have the funding available by the end of the year to cut to ODOT. So
By the end of this year.
by the end of this year, and so when I was doing the true up, I made sure to include that $800,000.
So we didn't budget it to be done this year. We had to have the money by the end of the year, but
Yeah,
we
the
budgeted it
It
for
would have been
next.
done in 2026.
Yeah, we budgeted it for next year, but.
Well, it's just like the 14 and 43 project. They're not gonna sell that project until January or February, but they want a check from us in what?
I believe late fall.
Yeah, September, October.
Yeah.
So they want their money up front. And I don't know when the last time you drove through the park, but the Miracle Lane project, it was one of those things where we had to decide between the 303 and Diagonal project and Miracle Lane, and we opted to go with the 303 and Diagonal project. And upon further review, I feel that there is more funding out there that is available to us to do the 303 and Diagonal project. So I would like to get the Miracle Lane project done. And this will include all the way from where it breaks off of the school drive, all the way out to the culvert, and going around the back of Field 7 down to the new parking lot. And then there was some additional parking that was put in along the side of that drive, and that portion will be paved also. And we'd like to go to bid on that. The spec, it's already been designed, so there's no design involved in it, and we can just send it out to bid.
Mr. Hannan.
Thank you. I was going to suggest that we include the entire road because I know originally we weren't going to do that back.
Right, this will be the entire thing.
That's good to know. Can you just explain, is that going to like straighten out that intersection there behind Field 7? What's the plan? I know we talked
Well, it's not
about
going to
this.
straighten it out. You're still going to have a curve. You'll be able to go straight through, and it'll take it all the way out to the culvert. It'll be that road. There's going to
I thought they were
be.
putting in stop signs or something there whenever. I
Yeah, I
thought
thought
Justin
so
said he
too.
was.
Well, there might be stop signs coming up.
I
There
thought
will
Justin
probably
said
be
he was
stop
going
signs
to
coming up.
rework that intersection.
I don't know exactly what the design reads, and because it's our street, we can put whatever signage we want on it. But there legitimately, there should be a stop sign coming up from the community center.
Yeah.
And, if that's the case, then we'll put a stop sign
I
up
thought
there.
he said before in a meeting that he was going to make that a three-way stop.
Why would you have a three-way stop there?
I don't know, there was something that was supposed to make it safer was what I was thinking. I can't remember exactly what it
Well,
was.
if it's in the design, that's when it's gonna be, I mean, if that's what you put in the design, then that's what it'll be. I don't know why there would be a three-way stop. There's not enough traffic there to warrant a three-way stop.
Yeah, I think there was
They're
something
gonna
though
blow
about
through it anyways.
straightening it up and not just going around in a curve. There was something about this was going to be straight and this was going to maybe tee off of it.
Ask him when he comes back. I'm pretty sure he was going to make it a three-way stop and straighten it out a little bit.
Are you not thinking about Kirby Lane? Down
No,
closer to the school by the library?
No, over behind Field 7, right by the community center.
Yeah.
I can't see why on earth that would need a three-way stop. The traffic I mean, to me, logic would dictate coming up from the community center, you should have a stop sign. But that road, I mean, you follow it around, it goes down to, if it's in the design, it'll be done. But I don't have the design in front of me. but we'd like to go to bid on it, and we can still get that project done this year.
There's no further discussion. I'll make a motion to move this to tonight's full council.
Second.
First and a second to move this to tonight's full council. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, this item has been moved to tonight's full council. Item J, wait, it's two J's. IJ,
Oops, sorry.
JJ.
you want to just make that K then? Item K?
Sure.
K and L. Item, now it's going to be K, P7788, authorized auction of vehicles and equipment. Mr. Bill Miller.
This is just some of the old cruisers that we've cycled through. We're just getting rid of them at the Edinburgh auction, along with, we still have traffic lights and traffic boxes from the signal project. So we're just gonna take them down slowly and let them auction them. Just cleaning up the yard, the stuff that we don't use.
Yes, Mr. Ring.
Thank you, Ms. Glenn. So some of these, I know for a long time we've repurposed the old PD vehicles. Like one of them was a 2020. We have no use for that or nowhere to repurpose that?
If they're in bad enough shape, we don't want to keep them.
Are they? Okay.
Yes,
All right.
that's the issue with them.
Any further discussion?
There's no further discussion. I'll make a motion to move this to tonight's full council.
Second.
First and a second to move this to tonight's full council. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, this item has been moved to tonight's full council. This will be what? Item L. P7789, purchase and install new truck brine loading station. Mr. Bill Miller.
Yes, this is actually, it goes along with our brine machine. It's a truck loading system that works with the brine machine. So we just got to renew that. It's in the budget, so it's not to exceed 40,000. It's actually 36,000 and some change, but I want to leave a little bit in there just in case we need to get something else. And it's coming out of my trucks and equipment line item 401515743.
Discussion?
There's no further discussion. I'll make a motion to move this to tonight's full council.
Second.
Thank you.
First and a second to move this item to tonight's full council. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, this item has been moved to tonight's full council. Item 6, citizens' comments. Don't see anybody's. Item 7, announcements. A regular council meeting will immediately follow this meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
First and a second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we are adjourned.
Ready? All right. I'd like to call this regular council meeting of Monday, June 9th to order. Caroline, please call roll.
Mr. Mishnak.
Here.
Mr. Hannon.
Here.
Mr. Lombardo.
Here.
Ms. Wagner. Ms. McDaniel.
Present.
Ms. Glenn.
Here.
Mr. Ring.
Here.
Make a motion to excuse Miss Wagner.
Second.
First and second to excuse Ms. Wagner. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, she is excused. Right, item 3, disposition of minutes, regular council meeting of May 12th, 2025, and May 19th, 2025.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as written.
Second.
First and second to accept the minutes, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, they are accepted. Item 4, citizens' comments, seeing none. Item 5, reports, communications from departments, boards, and commissions. And I've got a snowplow report for 2024 and 25. Mr. Miller.
Yeah, that was a comparison from last year to this year. As you see, it's a couple $100,000 more. And keep in mind that this year will also be a little bit higher because I had to order more salt to hopefully have some left over for the next season. So it kind of snowballs into a couple of year effect.
Snowballs.
Looks like diesel fuel doubled too. That's more time on the road.
More time on the road. Yep, more hours, almost double the hours.
Yep.
You know, so everything just kind of
Oh yeah.
builds.
It's definitely.
We did not receive the pricing yet for this year's. Usually that'll come out, the bids are out right now for the salt, but they usually come out in July. So then I'll know what kind of price we have for salt this year.
All right, thank you. Chief Reinhold, anything from fire department?
Just a couple things. We attended the fireworks at the high school back in the end of May. Of course, it rained, but they were able to get the fireworks out. Training, we have the Ohio Fire Academy State Fire Marshal rescue trailer at the station now. We're practicing search and rescue. We're setting a record this year for runs. We're above last year's average, but not a whole lot, but we're above. The Safer Grant and 3 additional people are helping big time as we're getting more and more triple calls where everybody's gone. So that's been helpful. We're in the process of hiring 2 part-timers. People leave, so we have to bring people on. And one of our full-timers who was part of the Safer Grant has left us, so we're in pursuit of another full-timer. So we have the testing out there. We'll be closing end of this week, and we'll be hiring. And we'll be hiring shortly administrative secretary. Hope to start June 23rd. So that's about it.
Very good. Thank you. Lieutenant Polivka?
I have nothing to report.
Thank you. We'll start with Mr. Matt Miller.
Just one thing to report. We filed our 2024 annual report with the state on time. We have a great accounting firm that we work really close with, and so that is now available. I sent council an email, that report, and the auditors will be showing up in a few months to then audit us on that, but that is the only news to report.
Very good, thank you. Sean, anything exciting in HR?
No, just hiring.
Okay. Patrick?
Our new next door neighbors behind us is the former Cleveland Federal Reserve. It is a company called Home Genius Exteriors. You'll see a lot more cars out front. They will be taking over the entirety of the building as Viga's manufacturing facility in the JED is completed. That's going to be Home Genius Exteriors is, as their name would suggest, mainly in windows, roofing, siding, things like that. But this is going to be their Midwest training center. So there's going to be a lot of people from throughout the Midwest coming in. There will be a call center and some minor executive activity.
Very good. Thank you. Ms. Edgar?
We are in week 2 of our summer camp, and we also started Safety Land today. So that's got us quite busy. We've also start our senior lunch and music series this week. You'll notice there's some work being done at Floyd North. We're waiting on the electric to get finished up there. The splash park is up and running. It is trial and error, but we are getting there slowly but surely. And we had over 130 locations participate in the garage sale this past weekend.
Nice.
That's all.
Fun, thank you. Anything from our tech guy? No? You good? All right.
IT division.
Yep. Mr. Not anything new in law?
No.
Okay. All right. We'll go to item 6, introduction of legislation containing statements of emergency.
I'll make a motion to suspend the rules for T7778, T7779, T7781.
No,
Took off 80. So I skipped over that one. T7782, T7784, T7785, T7786, T7787, T7788, and T7789.
second.
E3, E0 and E3.
1 week.
Okay.
And
It seems like there's a error.
okay.
I'm gonna have first from Mary Ann and a second from John. Caroline, please call roll.
Ms. Glenn?
Yes.
And Mr. Hannon?
Yes.
McDaniel? Yes. Here, Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Mr. Mishniak?
Yes.
Mr. Ring?
Yes. All right, item T7778, amend ordinance number 2025-55, police cruiser purchase. Caroline, please read by title.
An ordinance amending ordinance number 2025-55 to authorize the mayor to enter into contracts without competitive bidding with Montrose Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram for the purchase of 3 new 2025 Dodge Durangos for use by the police department for a total amount not to exceed $196,747.03 and declaring an emergency in order to accept time-sensitive proposals.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Wait, first and second to adopt. Caroline, please call roll.
Mr. Hannan?
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Ms. Wagner? I'm sorry, and Ms. Glenn?
Yes.
Mr. Mishniak?
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel? Yes. Mr. Ring?
Yes, T7778 now becomes ordinance 2025-64. T7779, approve 3/4 of updates to code. Caroline, please read by title.
Ordinance approving the editing and inclusion of certain ordinances as parts of the various component codes of the codified ordinances of the city of Streetsboro and declaring an emergency so that the amendments are in effect immediately.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
First and second to adopt. Caroline, please call roll.
Mr. Hannan?
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Ms. Glenn?
Yes.
Mr. Mishniak?
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel? Yes. Mr. Ring?
Yes, T7779 now becomes ordinance 2025-65. All right, T7781, authorized natural gas agreement. Caroline, please read by title.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with the selected supplier to supply natural gas to eligible consumers within the city of Streetsboro pursuant to the city's opt-out natural gas aggregation program at a cost not to exceed $4.75 MCF for a period of 24 months, and if that rate is not available, $4.75 MCF for 12 months, and declaring an emergency in order to expedite the contract.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
I have a first and second to adopt. Caroline, please call roll.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Ms. Glenn?
Yes.
Mr. Mishniak?
Yes.
Mr. Hannan?
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Ring?
Yes, T7781 now becomes ordinance number 2025-66. T7782, accept energy rebate check from Dynergy. Caroline, please read by title.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to accept an energy rebate check from Vistra Operations Company, LLC, also known as Dynergy, in the amount of $23,000 and declaring an emergency to expedite the process.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
A first and second to adopt. Caroline, please call roll.
Mr. Hannan?
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Mishniak?
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Ms. Glenn?
Yes.
Mr. Ring?
Yes, T7782 now becomes ordinance 2025-67. And T7784, authorize MOU with GLCAP to map storm sewers. Caroline, please read by title.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the Great Lakes Community Action Partnership to map the city of Streetsboro's storm sewers in 25-26 and declaring an emergency in order to commence delivery of professional services as soon as possible.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
First and second to adopt. Caroline, please call roll.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Mr. Hannan?
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mrs. Glenn?
Yes.
Mr. Mishniak?
Yes.
Mr. Ring?
Yes, T7784 now becomes ordinance 2025-68. T7785, authorized change order with Wertz in regards to City Hall inspections. Caroline, please read by title.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract without competitive bidding with Wertz Geotechnical Engineering to provide construction monitoring and testing at the new City Hall project for an amount not to exceed $9,500 for a total cost not to exceed $29,000 and declaring an emergency to ensure that there is no interruption in services.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
First and second to adopt. Caroline, please call roll.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Mr. Hannan?
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel? Yes. Ms. Glenn?
Yes.
Mr. Mishniak?
Yes.
Mr. Ring?
Yes. T7785 now becomes ordinance 2025-69. T7786, authorize OPWC grant application to repave Ferguson and Elliman. Caroline, please read by title.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor and/or the city engineer to apply for and accept financial assistance in the form of a grant or loan from the Ohio Public Works Commission to support the repair and resurfacing of Ferguson Road and North Elliman Road and declaring an emergency in order to expedite the grant or loan application process.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
First and second to adopt. Caroline, please call roll.
Mr. Hannan?
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
And Ms. Glenn?
Yes.
Mr. Mishniak?
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Ring?
Yes. T7786 now becomes ordinance 2025-70. T7787, go to bid for reconstruction of Miracle Lane.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract after competitive bidding for the reconstruction of Miracle Lane and declaring an emergency in order to proceed with the project as soon as possible.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
First and second to adopt. Caroline, please call roll.
Mr. Hannan?
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Ms. Glenn?
Yes.
Mr. Mishniak?
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel?
Yes.
And Mr. Ring?
Yes, T7787 now becomes ordinance 2025-71.
Mr. Ring, I had a question real quick.
Sure.
When was this, when did you say this project was gonna happen? What year? Is it gonna be this year or next year?
Miracle Lane
Yeah,
this year.
gonna be done this year.
Yeah, we'll send the bids out and give the minimal amount of time, and then I'm hoping it will be after baseball season's over. It's still gonna be an interruption. I mean, there's nothing we can do about that, but it'll be done and we won't have to worry about it for quite a long period of time.
All right, thank you.
Sure. Hey, T7788, authorize auction of vehicles and equipment. Caroline, please read by title.
An ordinance declaring the city's intention to dispose of miscellaneous unneeded vehicles and equipment and authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract without competitive bidding with Edinburgh Auction Sales, Inc. to conduct auctions of the vehicles and equipment on behalf of the city and declaring an emergency to expedite the process.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
First and second to adopt. Caroline, please call roll.
Ms. Glenn?
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Mr. Mishniak?
Yes.
Mr. Hannan?
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Ring?
Yes, T7788 now becomes ordinance 2025-72. T7789, purchase and install new truck brine loading system, or station, sorry. Caroline, please read by title. Yeah.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract without competitive bidding with Henderson Products, Inc. for the purchase and installation of a truck loading station for the city's new brine machines for an amount not to exceed $40,000 and declaring an emergency to ensure that there is no interruption of services.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
First and second to adopt. Caroline, please call roll.
Ms. Glenn?
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Mr. Mishniak?
Yes.
Mr. Hannan?
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel? Yes. Mr. Ring?
Yes, T7789 now becomes ordinance 2025-73. All right, item 7, first reading, there are none. Item 8, second reading, T7777, adopt 2026 tax budget. Caroline, please read by title.
An ordinance adopting a tax budget for the city of Streetsboro for fiscal year 2026 and declaring an emergency to meet the Portage County Budget Commission submission deadline.
All right, third reading, T7771, accept dedicated streets in Hannum Crossing Phase 10. Is that still on? Or
Take it off. You can either carry it over or you can remove it completely. Justin left me a memo.
Yeah, I got the memo
Yeah.
too. That's what I was going to ask. If which one do we want? Would you rather?
We could just add it back on and go through the process again.
Okay. Yep, that's fine. We will remove.
Well, I need a motion from council because it's reading.
I'll make a motion to remove this from the agenda.
Yep.
Okay.
We have a first and second to remove T7771 from the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that is removed. Okay, T7772, authorize annual vendor list for Parks and Recreation. Caroline, please read by title.
772, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into contracts without competitive bidding with various vendors for the purchase of materials and supplies for the Parks and Recreation Department.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
First and second to adopt. Caroline, please call roll.
Mr. Hannan?
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
And Ms. Glenn?
Yes.
Mr. Mishniak?
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Ring?
Yes. T7772 now becomes ordinance 2025-74. All right, I've been asked to add to the agenda an executive session to discuss hiring and employment. So I will entertain a motion to recess into an executive.
Wait, we need a motion to add.
Oh, to add, yeah.
Make a motion to add the executive session.
Second.
First and second to add the executive session to the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that's added. And now I'll entertain a motion to recess into executive session.
So moved.
First and second to recess into executive session. Yep. Can I please call roll?
Mr. Hannan?
Yes.
Ms. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Lombardo?
Yes.
Ms. Glenn?
Yes.
Mr. Mishniak?
Yes.
Mr. Ring?
Yes. We are now in executive session.
Matt, you already just